it goes. All right, we are good to go. Today we'll be doing Advanced Rafts. It's a mod that you can download from the Steam store. I would also recommend downloading Advanced Spacecraft for this particular build.
Is that Steam?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, it is. It's right here.
oh,
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go outside down, and we're going to go down to the docks and build us a ship. A lot of these same principles can be applied to the default vanilla raft. It's just that you're not going to be able to build as much on it. Otherwise, the process is exactly the same. And apparently, I'm hot. Who knew? Those light beams got to be fixed. There we go. That's better. Okay, we're here at the docks. I already have one raft built, and that's about as big as you can get on the default raft. So, let's go ahead and get things started. With the raft. Give me one moment. And since we're just going to be, showing this build, we're going to just spawn stuff in. Now, hopefully the recent patches haven't screwed anything up. There we go. This is what it's going to start out like. And again, this first section here can be applied to vanilla rafts as well. It'll just be limited in the amount of items and structures you can have on a given raft. So, with that being said, you can use wood, stone, or metal. I do not recommend using thatch. Wood's an okay thing to start out with if you can't afford anything else, but I highly recommend metal as any kind of raft build. The thing is, if we have default weight, or I changed it, it's going to be heavy. So you don't want to get too much. I would recommend building a small box on the shore to hold your building materials. There we go. Put our foundation here, our pillar here. Since I don't want to be attacked by anything, I'm going to turn on God mode. And infinite stats, where I don't starve to death. Go ahead and pull out your pillar. And while your pillar is out, drive the raft. Alright, now that you're facing forward, pull the pillar back until it's right about there. Dead center in the middle of the sail. Once it's placed about like that, go back to this. You can do this on a default raft as well. Hide your sail. Okay. Now this next part can get a little frustrating because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You just got to take your time and be patient, but it can be costly. That's why you might want to build the raft out of cheaper materials first until you get it to where you want it. Then replace those materials with more advanced materials. And your foundation, put your foundation there. Normally that would not work, but the pillar acts as a snap point. Now you can remove the pillar. Put a new pillar here. the next foundation here. As you can see, it sinks a little bit because the pillar is going to get a new snap point. Get rid of this pillar here. Remove this foundation. You might want to check your inventory and get rid of any excess crap that you get from demolishing those, because you can get weighed down pretty quick. Repeat the process. And make sure the pillar and the foundation snap properly. The foundation sinking like that. That's very important. Sometimes you got to position yourself just right in order to get it to sink. And you may need to move the raft a little bit too, just to get a little further out into deeper water. That's fine. Pillar. There it goes. Like that. And that's as far as you want to go. When you got a foundation that looks like this, you can get rid of the pillar, get rid of this foundation. Here's where the fun comes in. Line the rest of the raft, including the rudder area, with foundations. Just like this. Good. Now, assuming that you've not built the raft too far out in the water, go under the raft and make sure that your middle of the raft down here is also covered. Like that. There's no exposed parts. Yeah, Ichthyornis just came by and stole that kill, but that's okay. It's a weird beast anyway. Now, sometimes this will happen. Make sure that you build a ramp. That way you can get back on. The Ichthyornis really wants that fish meat I have. Very rude. The ramp allows you to get back on the ship. You're supposed to. I'm gonna have to kill this thing, aren't I? It really wants the fish meat. Alright, anyway. As of right now, you have no further use for the pillars. Put them away in your box, or you can just discard them. What you'll need next are thatch roofs. Not the sloped ones, just the flat ones. So take your flat thatch roofs and put them on your hotbar. Go to the front of the raft, lay down a thatch roof. Continue this process all the way around the raft. Alright, you will need to put one back here too, but yeah. Go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. Next thing you want to do is you can do this either off the raft or on it. I recommend staying on it so you don't get yourself eaten by like piranha, but this is the easier way. Keep an eye on your oxygen meter. Go underwater and take the foundation and attach it to the bottom of the roofs. Like that. Sometimes you'll end up replacing an interior foundation by accident. That's alright. Okay. That's about as wide as I want to make this one, though you can obviously make it a little bit wider. You don't have to, but you can. Go ahead and remove those thatch ceilings. Be careful not to demolish your foundation beneath the thatch ceilings. And once all that debris clears out, you'll see that you have a nice, much larger raft now. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to extend it both towards the bow and towards the stern. And again, this is assuming that this mod has not been broken. This is about as big as you can make it on vanilla servers. You can maybe go out one more row, but that's about it. And it looks like the mod's going to try to cooperate today. Right, just as before, this time we're going to do a different method. We're going to stay on the raft to extend it. Get your metal foundation out and look straight down at the thatch roof. Once you see this, drop your foundation and remove that. Problem solved. No more getting locked off the raft or being eaten by some kind of underwater beast that wants to eat your face off. So don't get eaten if you can avoid it. And then just repeat the process until you're filled out. That's back and front. And sometimes that'll happen too. You accidentally destroy something. Just fix it, move on. Especially if you're playing on a PvP server. You don't really have time to fool around too much. Could be the fact that we're too close to the shoreline. Let's try this again. Yep, that's what it was. Go ahead and remove all of these. You can move the raft a little bit and shake loose that debris. Move out to some deeper water, but I wouldn't go into too deeper water. Remember, lead ichthyes do not like rafts. Alright. Now the fun part comes next. There's tons of fun parts, but this is the fun part. Where you're finally going to see the ship take shape as a ship. Alright. Now that you have all these parts down, this is where Structures Plus come into play. Let me go get the parts I need. Basically what Structures Plus has, the default stuff does not have, is triangle ceilings and triangle foundations. I'm not sure why the default structures don't have those, because they're very, very useful. You'll see why in a moment. Okay. All right, I'm spawning in tech materials from Structures Plus, but any material will work from Structures Plus. Metal, wood, thatch. There's actually there's triangle ceilings and foundations for all of it. So use whichever material that you feel is best. I prefer tech because it looks a lot better. What you're going to do is you want to jump in the water, and just like before, use triangle foundations this time. It's just like this. Now come back, and between those two, place the triangle ceiling. Of course, you want to have a way to get back on your raft, but I've already explained that more than once, so hopefully by now you'll have a ramp built. Come back and remove these batch ceilings. Come back here and shake off the debris. You can kind of see what you're doing. Here's the fun part. Go back in the water. Once you're sure there's nothing going to eat you, put down more foundations underneath those ceilings. And lay ceilings out from those foundations. Like this. And then under those ceilings, put foundations. And then more ceilings. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this is exactly how we're going to make the pointed bow of a ship, instead of that flat or malformed mess that you get with your default structures. And once we get out of here, you'll see what I mean. It makes your raft bigger, but it also makes it look like an actual ship. The back end is going to be something similar. Like that. And just like the front, okay, we're too close to shore, so we want to move out. The bigger your build, the more common that problem will actually become. And believe me, I've built some absolutely gigantic ships. Sometimes that happens. Just pick up the foundation, because Structures Plus has that nifty little feature, and come back and do it again. There we go. Once again, repeat the process as with the bow of the ship. The only difference between this and the bow of the ship is you don't want to go out to a point. You want to make it kind of rounded. I would say about here is just fine. Well, let's go one more level. There we go. That's better. Go under the raft and make sure that there are no holes. If there are holes, fill them. Now, the reason I built this like this is because the last patch that came out, there was a glitch on vanilla and modded rafts. What the hell is this? There was a glitch on vanilla and modded rafts. Seriously. One second. She laid her eggs on my boat and gets aggravated when I want to get. Good lord. You guys are pack hunters, I think. You wouldn't think turtles would be this herd oriented. This is taking forever. I've been ganged up by the Ninja Turtles. 3 or 4 of them. Wow. Yeah, the game spawned at a turtle nest in my boat. I got rid of the nest, took the egg, and I got swarmed by angry turtles. Well, I just did in, like, what, 2 minutes what Shredder couldn't do in 30 years? You know? All it took was a pipe. And he even had one of those in the first movie and still didn't do him any good. Anyway. Alright, now what I was saying was there was a glitch when the last couple of patches that came out that affected vanilla rafts and advanced rafts. Basically, any kind of raft, modded or not, to where you could not build out using a modded structure like Structures Plus. It wouldn't recognize that it was there. I'm not sure if that's been fixed, so just to work around it, I went ahead and used vanilla stuff to extend it out, and I'm going to replace that vanilla stuff with Structures Plus stuff. That way it matches. And sometimes that will happen. When it does, just pick it up and move on. It can be tricky sometimes to get to work, but it will work. That one I'll probably have to fix a different way, but there is a way to fix it. We'll come back to that. Drops in the inventory. I plan on it. Sometimes this stuff will happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Just replace as needed. It may actually be easier to do this from under the water. Just keep an eye on your oxygen meter. Don't want to drown. There, go. Throw a ceiling up there, and then throw a foundation. Once you're good to go, surface. I want to fly up so that you can see how big the ship has gotten now compared to a default unmodded raft. As you can see, it's become more like an actual ship. Great. Right. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put gateways on the back and ramps. Of course, we want ramps. All right. So we don't have any more issues with getting knocked off the ship. We want to put our gateway here and here, because remember, gateways are approximately 2 foundations wide. You'll want to put one on either side so that you can come to port anywhere. There's those two. And darken in. Now the tricky part becomes back here. You can place the ramps here, but it's a pain, and I don't recommend it. I would put it right here. And the reason for that will soon become clear. Now, the next thing that we want are some ceilings. By the way, do you want to go out and get some food later? Yo.
Huh?
You want to go and get some food later?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind getting out of the house for a little while. Alright. Take you some flat ceilings this time. And line yourself up with the bottom of the ramp on both sides. Just like that. Repeat this for every ramp you have on the outside like this. Right, now that you have that, we'll need some sloped walls, left and right. Left ones and our right ones. Put them on your hotbar and go back to the ramps. This is where those ceilings that we need to place are going to come into play. Place down your sloped ceiling, not like this, but in the appropriate spot right there, between the ramp and the ceiling. These turtles won't leave me alone if I get rid of their eggs. There. Now then, repeat on the other side, same process. Again, this is mostly for looks because it keeps things looking good. You don't want to be one of those guys who builds something that looks magnificent at first glance, but then you get a little closer and it's kind of shabbily put together. You don't want to do that. All right. Now what we need is our gateway. This one can be a little hard to place, but work on it because it's worth it. Gateways are 2 foundations wide. You may have to get creative with your positioning to make this work. If it may help you, you can try laying down a fence foundation. That does not always work. I've tried. Because even getting these foundations here to snap can be a pain. All right, now these are modded structures, so let's go ahead and try a regular structure. See what that does. Sometimes you kind of have to mix and match a little bit. But it will eventually snap into place the right way. Just be patient and don't give up. This is where scaffolding can come into play. Remember I talked about scaffolding in one of my other videos. Well, turns out what I thought would be the harder one may actually be the easier one. So we'll go back and adapt. For some reason, it doesn't want to cooperate today, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and adapt, like I said. Be adaptable, be flexible. Not where I wanted it, but we'll adapt. Put on your ramps and replace your ceilings. sometimes having all these snap points can be a pain. There we go. Now, while we could put tech gates up here, I'm going to go ahead and put a glass gate. And again, this is from Structures Plus, so this glass gate has the same strength as metal. Or it did, at least. They must have changed it. It won't snap to the gate anymore, so we'll use the tech gate. That's okay. Again, concept is to adapt. Be creative. Good. Now we need walls. Lots of walls. All right. Tech walls. Start lining your ship with walls. Sometimes that there will also happen. It's rather annoying, but you can build around it. Just build up and around. Creativity. All right, now we need door frames. There we go. There's your first layer of walls. One thing that you will want to do is close off your pilot house. Great. Now we want glass walls. And even, again, just as a reminder, even though we're using Structures Plus to do this, you can use basically vanilla mods if you don't want to have Structures Plus. But if you have advanced drafts, you might as well go ahead and get Structures Plus. It's worth it. Okay, you see what we're doing here? Making an animal pen. Right now, the next thing we want to do is make it a little bit creative. Take some metal railings and go to the top. One thing to bear in mind is that tech walls, vanilla and modded, are thicker than your normal walls, so sometimes things won't show up properly. And we need ceilings. These are just going to be the flat ceilings. No triangle ceilings needed, though we will need those later. It's very important that everything lines up properly. As you can see, I may have made a mistake, but that's part of learning, making mistakes. The good thing about Structures Plus is a lot of it is no collision. So if you make this kind of mistake, it's okay. You're like, how are we going to fix this? Simple. Be creative. And there's an animal containment pin that you can use as a taming pin or just an animal transport pin. Either one works. There's the wheelhouse. Now up here is something else I like to build into any of my advanced rafts. This part of the ship has no windows, and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay, now that you have that, take some glass walls. Move it around until it stops doing that. It's not what I wanted to put there. Well, that wasn't supposed to be there. There we go. Just go as slow as you can. Make sure it doesn't have many issues. You'll have little things like this, so don't panic about it. Good. All right. One door frame down. Ugh, I hate default weights. Door goes right there. Goes there. That goes there. And that goes there. Change your model. So it looks like this. Like that. And sometimes you'll change your design a little bit, and that's okay. Be open to change. There we go. Good. Now you want to come up here at the top. And again, you may want to use scaffolding of some kind to, build a temporary walkway up. There we go. You'll see what this room is for momentarily. Just a moment. There we go. Now the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and finish off the rest of the ship. Are they still going on about yelpers? Really? It's a lost cause. Ben's over here watching Kitchen Nightmares reruns about Amy's Baking Company. God, that was so bad. I'm telling you, that was really bad. Much. I'm not sure the word lunatic accurately captures what they are. Alright, so assuming that you've built a type of scaffolding, which hopefully you would have by now, there we go. Now we can fill in the rest of the ceiling. I'm leaving these holes for a very specific reason. You can see the boat has gotten quite a bit bigger. Wanting some ramps. Sometimes it can be tricky to get them to stay where they need to be, but it's entirely doable. Make sure we don't have any lip. We don't. Good. Lips are bad. They make you stumble. Which is really annoying. Alright, we need some sloped walls. So we'll go back to here and get some more. Just a little. Sure. Nope, I don't believe it. Perfect. Take some metal railings and line the side of your staircase with it. Another great feature of Structures Plus that should be default. What is that?
Oh, one of those. I'm watching a game that fails, and we're always playing a stupid sound effects.
Hilarious. What fail was that?
I wasn't even paying attention. Hold on, what is it? What is it? I don't. What else happened?
What have you done?
Oh, they ran over a teammate
Oh,
in the.
oops.
And his name was Captain Kenobi or something, or no, Captain Kobe. Never mind.
That's funny. Okay. There we go. It's going to be a similar set of stairs over here. Unlike the other one, we're going to leave a little bit more space for this one. Again, line it with your railings. And when stuff like this happens, just try your best to fix it. And sometimes it'll happen more than once. There we go. Much better. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Sometimes the railings won't line up just the right way, and sometimes they will. It's kind of hit or miss. It's all right though. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. All right, you can see the superstructure of the ship taking place, or taking shape, rather. That's exactly how it was meant to be. Okay, that one's not right. That's better. Okay. Get some glass walls. Should have left those open like that. There we go. That's better. Change the model of these two. Voila. Gives you a bridge. There is a reason for this superstructure up here, and I'll show you why. But it does actually serve a purpose. Do to round those corners off is use some triangle ceilings. And sometimes you may have to look at it just a little bit. And you may have to layer some structures as well. Like that. Go ahead and get your ramps back out. You okay?
Yeah, just intensely stretching. Oh,
Now the nice thing about this is you can switch it to a half wall. So you don't need to have all those walls sticking out. You can just do it like this. Like so. Swap these to stairs. There you go. You now have access to the top deck. Now I may change how this works. This really depends. There we go. That's funny over there. What the fuck? Anyway. There we go. Let's see here. I think I will actually leave this one alone. I think I'll actually leave it like so. The next part is we'll need lots of railings. Well, lots of railings. Again, these probably won't line up exactly right because of the nature of how things go, snap points. As you can see, those there kind of alternated. That's alright. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm actually not sure why those are alternating like that. That's almost perfect. It's kind of odd. Okay. Okay. There will be doors put on those, by the way. But for now, you can see it's become a rather large vessel. We're not done yet. More railings, like I said. Railings for days. I do wish they make up their mind about which direction they want to go, though. That's kind of annoying. Awesome. Now we want to get some pillars. What you want to do is go down here. And line them like this. It's not necessary exactly, but it does make things look a little better. Much better. All right. Let's put some doors on this thing. There we go. That is the basic structure of the boat, right there. Now, why did I make it like that? Let me show you. The other mod I often use in conjunction with this particular one is Advanced Spacecraft. It's made by the same people who make this mod. What if you had a raft that was basically like an all-terrain vehicle? You could sail the oceans of the island, but at the same time, you could park safely offshore and launch a vehicle for exploration, reconnaissance, whatever you want to do. Well, what that vehicle is now. Let's go ahead and place it. Well, that didn't work out too well. I'm flying. There we go. Let's go ahead and put the vehicle down, and there it is. Now, this is the transport shuttle. As you can see, it basically functions like a hovercraft. It's got room for 10 people inside. You can fly first person or third person. I highly recommend third person, and pull the camera back a little bit. That way you won't get motion sick. That's especially for if you're a passenger, but it has vertical takeoff and landing. It's got a sprint mode, and you change the camera view, but it can also go underwater. However, it does not provide any oxygen, so if you're going underwater with it, keep an eye on your oxygen levels, or wear scuba gear. Now, here's the nifty part. If you find somewhere that you want to explore underwater, you park it underwater. So by exiting the vehicle, it won't go anywhere. It won't lose health. Come back to it, get back in, and go back to the surface. Quite useful. It has no defenses, however, and it won't provide you any insulation, so just keep an eye on that. Wear appropriate armor and gear. To land, just come back to the raft, go down, and adjust as needed. Once it gets in skill, you can actually land a little bit better. It will not fall off unless you hit the world wall. Then it might fall off. What's this? Okay, I think I may see a problem here. Yeah, this wall here's going to cause a problem. And that should fix it. Yep, that fixed it. Okay, now let's go back downstairs to that one room that I mentioned. I'll explain what it's for. Open it up. Now this one comes from a mod called Bulk Crafters. It's called the ARK reactor. With one piece of fuel that lasts forever, this ARK reactor and the wireless crystals can provide power to anything electrical. Many people use it on modded servers to provide power instead of the generator. So let's go ahead and go to Bulk Crafters. You'll need to build the ARK reactor. Which is this thing. I'd try to place it in the center of the room as possible. Like that. Once you have the ARK reactor, you'll need a piece of ARK fuel. One piece of ARK fuel lasts forever. It never runs out. Put it in and activate. And basically now this room is a glorified warp core, like on a starship. I'm a big Trek fan, so the idea came to use like the front of the ship as a warp core. Now on PvP, this may not be such a good idea because there are ways of destroying rafts that are pretty ingenious. Ramming them with a piece of C4 on the front works pretty well because these walls do not detect collision. The only thing that collides is the raft itself, which is back here. Which means, while it can leave you exposed, it can also be very beneficial because in tight quarters, like the swamps, you could take the whole ship into the swamps. Though you probably don't want to. Animals can't get through it though, and neither can people. That being said, just like before, you want to adjust your camera so you can see where you're going. It does move. And you can spin in place, you can go backwards, you can change the speed. Before we go out into deep water, now I'm not going to furnish this thing or anything because you can furnish it however you like, but there's plenty of room for crafting stations, for storage, for beds, eating places, tames, you name it. So I'm not going to do any of that because that's going to be totally up to you because each person will do that differently. But one thing I did want to do was put some defenses on here, mainly because of the lead thieves. We don't want to have our wonderful, beautiful new ship leveled by a stupid fish. So, that in mind, take a few ceilings, look for some sloped roofs, and we'll build some very basic defenses and strategic points. can get the slope wall to work right. Sometimes you got to change your camera view. Actually, you may want to go ahead and get some ramps while you're here. I mean, not ramps, sloped roofs. I apologize. Sloped roofs. That's my bad. Sloped roofs, not ramps. Sloped roofs. And then you can attach them like so. Makes a nice little sealed structure that doesn't really look so fragile. Again, it's just for looks mostly, but you know, consistency and all that. Space them about 3 foundations apart. Can be a pain, but just stick with it. It will eventually go where it's supposed to go. There we go. Patience and persistence. Those are actually pretty much key requirements to building anything on ARK, is patience and persistence. Now we go back over here and we'll do the same thing from the other side. You want to try to get them where they're roughly even and on the exact same side on the ship. That can happen too. That's okay. Sometimes it refuses to work, but he's got to make it work. Sometimes it pulls stunts like that and ruins part of your build. Just patience. There we go. And then if you have to go back and replace something, just go back and replace it. No big deal. It's the name of the game. So now we're 3 wide. So we want to put our next placement here. All right. There's our port and starboard weapon emplacements. The next one's a little more tricky, but it's equally doable. Just have to get the piece here to match what you want it to do, which can be a little difficult. There we go. And for these, you won't have any foundations. But these can be the trickier of the bunch to pull off. That's mostly because of the nature of where they're at. There we go. Right, there's the front ones. There's a... Okay. There's those. Now we're going to put some on the back. Well, if it'll snap properly. And I have no idea why these things sometimes do that. It's incredibly frustrating. Well, we'll just have to deal with it then. That'll work. It's not what I wanted to do, but it'll work. It may actually work out better. Okay. Now you can, in theory, place one there as well. But I think that's just kind of overkill. And you'll see why in a minute. Now that we have our weapons in placements, let's go get our weapons. Now, you can line these with turrets, the little miniguns that come in the game, or you can use modded things like a photon turret, and I'm pretty sure I have the photon turret installed. So, let me go and make sure I do, and if not, then we'll use basic normal turrets. No, I do not have the photon turret mod installed. That's alright. We'll go and use normal turrets. You want to place them where they have a line of sight. Like that. Now, be sure to have these targeting only wild. Otherwise, you'll be targeting everything under the sun. But some on single player, all I want to do is shoot wild things. There's no tames to shoot. Also, you want to pin code it. You'll see why in a minute as well. All right, we need 2 more here. Now, this may look heavily armed, but I've actually made bigger ships with more armaments than this. I have built ships on PvP servers that have at least 20 or 30 photon turrets, about the same number of auto turrets, rocket launchers, and the minigun turrets. I've done some pretty crazy things with these rafts. There's lots to do. Just got to get creative. We call that was my battleship design, and I was able to use it to level bases from the ocean. It would also protect me from any time from any of their tames. They would stick on me, or if they would get in the water or they would get in the air trying to take me out, it wouldn't work. So, this may be a little too far from the platform. I may have to move this one back just a little bit. That's okay. That's the whole point of building like this, is to learn. And to really develop patience. Okay. We need at least 4 more. Next thing we want to get is ammunition. These take advanced rifle bullets. I'm only going to put 200 in each one because this is just for demonstrations, so it doesn't really need to be overpowered. And now that everything's pin coded and loaded, well, almost everything, next thing I want to do is go back to bulk crafters and get some of the wireless crystals. This will transmit power from the ARK reactor to everything electrical, including the turrets. These wireless crystals have a surprisingly large range, so you really won't need that many of them. Like I said, it's got a very, very large range. It is good to build several just for redundancy's purposes, though. So in case one gets taken out, your entire power network doesn't decide to fail. It's also good if you use the bulk reactor on a PvP server to hide it somewhere, within stacked foundations or somewhere secure. That way it cannot be easily found and destroyed. Building a network of these crystals helps because if one gets destroyed, the network doesn't come down. Alright, the last thing I want to put on here are some lights to help you see where you're going at night. So, one more moment. And these are just your basic lamp posts from ARK. Getting these in place can be a little tricky where they're so far from the primary foundation. But they will work. I'm going to line them up and make sure they are facing forward, obviously. You want to put 3 of them on each side. and then pin code them. That way you can turn them off and on at will. All right. We have lights, we have weapons, we have defenses. The last thing we need is a method to control it all, which will be the remote keypad. You'll also want to get a metal wall or a series of metal walls because while you can place the keypad on tech walls, it kind of sinks into the model and you lose sight of it, so it can be tricky to use, even though it's still functional. This may make things a little bit easier. So spawn a few walls or create a few walls, however you want to do it. And then get yourself a remote keypad. Go into the ship. Then you may want to put them in here, in the pilot house. Just wherever you feel better putting that. There we go. Everything's powered and everything is ready to go. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and take the raft for a spin. We're going to turn our turrets on just to be safe. And they're already on. They're defending us against the evils of the coelacanths. We'll go out into deep water and see if we can find anything more dangerous. As you can see, it defends you against everything. Coelacanths, turtles, sharks, mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, anything that dares come anywhere close to the raft gets blasted from any angle. Alright, now that we're in deep water, I can actually just leave the raft sitting here and it won't be bothered by any lead ichthyes. You can go up to the top of the shuttle deck, to the shuttle pad, I call it. You can launch from the raft. You can go explore, you can go fly around, find new homes, do reconnaissance, spy on your neighbors, you know, even dive down into the oceans. Remember, it doesn't provide any oxygen or insulation. You can see where it goes and to explore. Remember, it just doesn't also provide oxygen, so do not drown. Don't be stupid. Where's Scuba gear? It's also a good way to abandon ship if need be, because it can hold up to 10 people. If your ship comes under, attack and you need to get off the ship, everyone can make for the shuttle pad, jump in, and they can fly away. I can guarantee you it will outrun almost any tame on the map. You can go underwater. This thing will even go inside caves. It's fantastic for exploration. That said, that is the raft build. That's pretty much all there is to it besides filling it out with, your crafting stations, your beds, your decorations. And that's pretty much doable in any fashion that you want to do. The lights do work. I'm going to go ahead and turn those on and set it to nighttime. I don't have any lights here inside inside the raft yet. You can place some if you want, but you got these lights here, but you can't really see much here in the open ocean. But if you get closer to land, you'll see what I mean. See what I mean? The lights provide you with the ability to see where you're going in shallow water or anywhere there could be enemy mines. Now, if you want, you can line your entire ship with these, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, that's the raft tutorial. Decorate it and fill it out as you please. Again, you can build that out of wood, metal, tech. I wouldn't do thatch, but that's it. Hope you guys learned something today. Thanks for watching. Later.